1966. Hadley Castle Works, Wellington, Shropshire. Inside the GKN Sankey factory, a tracked vehicle rolls off the production line and onto wet English concrete. It weighs 17.5 tons. It carries no turret. It mounts no cannon. Bolted to its right flank is a hydraulic crane arm, folded down like a sleeping insect. And behind the crew compartment sits an open steel bed sized to hold exactly one thing, a complete tank engine on a lifting frame. It looks like a breakdown truck that someone accidentally wrapped in armour plate. No general asked for it by name. No war correspondent would ever photograph it. No enemy soldier would ever learn to fear it. And yet this vehicle would keep the entire British armoured fleet operational across 3 decades of Cold War standoff, through the deserts of the Gulf, into the Balkans, and beyond. Without it, every Chieftain tank in Germany was one engine failure away from becoming a 62-tonne paperweight. Its designation was the FV434 Carrier Maintenance Full Tracked, and it was the most important vehicle in the British Army that nobody has ever heard of. To understand why the FV434 existed, you need to understand the problem Britain faced in the early 1960s. The British Army of the Rhine sat in northern Germany staring across the inner German border at roughly 50,000 Warsaw-packed tanks. To hold them, Britain fielded the Centurion and then the Chieftain, a main battle tank whose 120mm rifled gun was the most powerful in NATO. The Chieftain was fearsome on paper. In practice, it had a catastrophic weakness. Its Leyland L60 multi-fuel engine was unreliable to the point of infamy. Breakdowns were not occasional, they were routine. In one desert training day during the Gulf War, 14 out of 57 tanks in a single regiment broke down. REME veterans joked darkly that the Chieftain's engine was extremely effective, provided it broke down in a useful location. The British answer was not a better engine, it was a better way of changing the broken one. Every major component in the Chieftain, the engine, transmission, oil tanks, filters and ancillary systems, was mounted on a single subframe called a monoblock power pack. Disconnect a handful of cables and fuel lines, lift the entire assembly straight up, drop a fresh one in, reconnect, and the tank was running again. On paper, the swap could be done in under an hour, but to do it, you needed a crane that could lift 3 tons, a tracked vehicle that could follow the tanks across the same terrain, and enough armour to survive near the front line. That vehicle was the FV434. Built by GKN Sankey on the same hull as the FA432 armoured personnel carrier, it shared the Rolls-Royce K60 engine, a 6.57-litre, 6-cylinder, 2-stroke, opposed piston multi-fuel power plant producing 240 brake horsepower. Top speed was 47 km per hour. Range was 483 km. Armour was 12.7mm of welded steel, enough to stop rifle rounds and shell splinters, but nothing heavier. The crew was 4, a commander, a driver, and 2 REME fitters. The vehicle itself was a masterpiece of practical engineering. Mounted on the right side of the hull was a HIAB hydraulic crane, capable of lifting 3,050 kilograms at a radius of 2.26 meters, or 1,250 kilograms at full extension of nearly 4 meters. When the crane operated, the first and fifth road wheel shock absorbers locked hydraulically, turning the suspension itself into rigid outriggers. No stabilizing legs needed to be deployed, no time wasted. The rear of the hull was an open cargo bed sized to carry a complete Chieftain power pack on its lifting frame. Beneath it, tool stores held welding equipment, both oxyacetylene and arc, Pioneer tools, slave leads for jump-starting dead vehicles, and a fold-out workbench with a mounted vise. A 440-volt electrical outlet powered hand tools directly from the vehicle's generator. For self-defense, a single 7.62mm general-purpose machine gun sat on a pintle mount, and 2 3-barrel smoke grenade dischargers provided concealment. A canvas penthouse tent could be rigged off the rear to shelter the fitters working through the night. Every number had a battlefield consequence. 3,000 kilograms of crane lift meant a Chieftain power pack could come out and go back in without calling for a heavier vehicle. 47 kilometers per hour meant the FV434 could keep pace with the armoured units it supported. 483 kilometers of range meant it could follow a division across Germany without its own logistics tail. 12.7mm of armour meant REME fitters could work under fire that would have killed unprotected mechanics in soft-skinned trucks. Now, before we get into where this vehicle actually served and what it did under operational conditions, if you are enjoying this deep dive into British military engineering, hit subscribe. It takes a second, costs nothing, and helps the channel grow. The FV434's natural habitat was the British Army of the Rhine. Every armoured regiment's light aid detachment held roughly 4 of them, 1 per Sabre squadron fitter section, operating alongside an FV-432 for the electrical and mechanical engineer officer and a Chieftain armoured recovery vehicle for towing. Confirmed REME Armoured Workshops fielding the type included 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 11th and 12th Armoured Workshops, plus 14th Field Workshop in Berlin, where FV-434s wore the distinctive Berlin Brigade urban camouflage while supporting the independent Berlin Armoured Squadron's Chieftains. Annual exercises on the Soltau training area and Hone Rangers saw FV-434s replacing tracks, swapping engines, and changing gun barrels on Chieftains in every season and every weather condition. According to veteran accounts, a competent 4-man crew could strip and replace an FV-432 power pack in well under an hour. A Chieftain pack took longer, but the alternative, backloading a 62-tonne tank to a rear area workshop on a transporter, could take days. The FV-434 eliminated that delay entirely. One REME veteran recalled a midnight starter motor change near Hameln, the penthouse canvas rigged over the entire vehicle in darkness, the crew working by torchlight while the rest of the battle group slept. The vehicle's biggest operational test came during the Gulf War of 1991, Operation Granby, the first United Kingdom Armoured Division deployed to Saudi Arabia, with its full REME support structure, including 6th, 7th and 11th Armoured Workshops. 4th Armoured Workshop contributed 138 personnel from October 1990. According to Captain A.J. McWowers, a Royal Australian Electrical and Mechanical Engineers officer on exchange to 11th Armoured Workshop, Forward Repair Group 6 was placed under command of 4th Armoured Brigade during the breach into Iraq. Forward repair teams pushed up behind the battle groups, recovering damaged vehicles to equipment collection points, where FV-434 crews inspected, diagnosed and repaired on the spot. McWowers described reclamation, salvage, battlefield clearance and equipment denial as the everyday reality of the advance. A widely reproduced photograph from Operation Granby shows a heavily stowed 1st Armoured Division FV-434 with the name Inconceivable painted across its hull, the crew probably appreciating the irony. There was a critical limitation in the desert. The Challenger 1 main battle tank had a power pack that exceeded the FV-434's 3-tonne crane limit. In the Gulf, the FV-434 primarily supported the massive fleet of FV-432s, the armoured personnel carriers, mortar carriers, ambulances, command vehicles, and signals variants that formed the backbone of the division's logistics and infantry echelon. Challenger packs were handled by the upgraded Chieftain armoured repair and recovery vehicle, and the new FE-512 Warrior Mechanised Combat Repair Vehicle. In the Balkans, 7th Armoured Workshop Company REME was the first major British REME unit into Bosnia, deploying from Falling Bostel to Split, and then forward to Gornji Vakuf in November 1992, arriving a full 2 weeks before the lead elements of 1st Battalion the Cheshire Regiment. 4th Armoured Workshop followed on Operation Grapple II in 1993. Workshop establishments on these tours included FV-434s, though the mixed vehicle peacekeeping environment increasingly saw wheeled recovery and repair assets taking over. Every other major military approached maintenance differently. The Americans built the M88 recovery vehicle on a tank chassis weighing over 50 tons, combining a 45-ton winch and a 22-ton crane on a single platform. The Soviets fielded the BREM-1 on a T-72 hull at over 40 tons with recovery winch, dozer blade and crane integrated together. The Germans built the Bergerpanzer II, and later the Bergerpanzer III Buffel on Leopard hulls, combining 30-ton cranes with 35-ton winches. The British alone separated the two functions. Recovery, meaning winching, towing and righting, overturned vehicles belonged to the Centurion ARV, the Chieftain ARRV, and later the CRARRV. Repair, meaning lifting, fitting and component exchange, belonged to the FV-434. On paper, combining both roles on one heavy chassis looked more efficient. In practice, the British approach meant that a single broken Chieftain did not tie up a 50-ton recovery beast for hours while fitters worked. The ARV towed the casualty to a collection point and went back for the next one. The FV-434 arrived, unfolded its crane, and fixed the problem. 2 vehicles, 2 trades, twice the throughput. This was not an accident of procurement. It was a doctrinal choice rooted in REME's trade structure and in a treasury-driven preference for cheap APC chassis solutions over expensive tank chassis combined platforms. It worked brilliantly while the power packs being lifted were Chieftain class. It reached its ceiling when Challenger arrived with heavier components. The FV-434's replacement came not as a single successor, but as a disaggregation of its role. The CRARRV built by Vickers on a Challenger 1 hull with 80 delivered between 1988 and 1993, absorbed the heavy pack lifting work with a crane sized for Challenger 2 components. The Warrior FV-512, mechanised combat repair vehicle, 105 built, carried a 6.5-tonne crane and could transport 2 Warrior power packs or 1 Challenger pack on a rear trailer. The FV-513 mechanised recovery vehicle added a 20-tonne winch and earth anchor for the armoured infantry role. Yet the FV-434 refused to disappear entirely. A small cadre survived the 2005 to 2011 Bulldog upgrade programme, which modernised the FV-432 fleet with appliqué armour and a new diesel engine. FV-434 fitters vehicles were included in the upgrade contracts and fitted with Bowman Digital Communications. A residual handful remain on REME books today, supporting the Bulldog fleet itself. More than 50 years after the first vehicles left the Shropshire factory floor, survivors sit in museums across Britain and beyond. The REME Museum at MOD Lynham displays an FV-434 staged, demonstrating a power pack change on an FV-432. The Tank Museum at Bovington runs the type at Tankfest. The Norfolk Tank Museum at Fawnset has a fully restored running example. The Australian Armour and Artillery Museum in Cairns operates an ex-British vehicle on the far side of the world. On the collector market, running examples have appeared at around £24,000, complete with crane, tools and penthouse canvas. 1966. Hadley Castle Works, Wellington, Shropshire. A tracked vehicle with no turret, no cannon, and a crane arm folded against its hull rolls out onto wet concrete. It was slow. It was thinly armoured. It carried no weapon that could threaten anything larger than an infantryman. It could not tow a broken tank, could not bridge a river, could not suppress an enemy position, and yet it worked. In the forests of northern Germany during 30 years of Cold War exercises, in the Saudi desert during the breach into Iraq, in the Bosnian valleys where workshops arrived before the infantry, wherever the British Army sent tanks the FV-434 followed, and wherever an engine died the crane arm unfolded, the shock absorbers locked, and the power pack came out. Other nations built enormous recovery beasts on tank hulls to do everything at once. Britain built a 17-tonne box with a crane and 2 fitters and told them to get on with it. That is not glamour. That is British maintenance doctrine. And it kept an empire of broken chieftains running for half a century.